Imagine this. You've built your email list and worked super hard to get it exactly where you want it. You're getting great engagement, you're getting replies, people are buying, and then one day you wake up and done. Everything comes to a complete halt. Your stats go down to zero, all of your emails are going into spam, and nothing is working. Chances are, you just got hit with a spam trap. What the hell are spam traps? Well, I'm gonna tell you in this video today, and trust me, you're gonna wanna stick around to the end because I'm gonna walk you through the exact process I took one of my clients through in order to clean up their spam trap hit, and now they're back up and running. Hey, what's going on? My name is Josh. I am a full-time online business owner and certified digital marketing specialist, and I specialize in email marketing and deliverability. And today I'm going to take you through some of the lesser known information about spam that you probably have heard of, but think that maybe you're not going to be affected by it. And make sure you stay around to the end because I'm going to walk you through an actual process I took a client through to get them out of the spam trap and back into good sending habits. And hey, if you like learning about email marketing tools, strategies, and other digital marketing topics, smash that like button, subscribe to my channel, and make sure you hit that notification bell so you get notified when I come out with new content like this. All right, so let's get right into the first spam trap, which is called typos. Yes, typos. Email typos are the first type of spam trap. Now, these aren't your typical email provider generated spam trap. Typos are just where the email address itself was misspelled. So what happens is when you try to send that email out to that person, the misspelling causes it to be an undeliverable message. That undeliverable message creates what's called a hard bounce. Well, what's a bounce? A bounce is when an email cannot be delivered to the recipient, and so it's kicked back to the sender with a message that says, hey, we couldn't deliver this email. Now, if you're using an email marketing platform like MailerLite or GetResponse or something like that, you're probably not going to see that undeliverable message, but those tools will absolutely track that bounce and give you information on what you can do with it. Some of them might even automatically remove it from your list. The thing about these is they're kind of tricky. It's not that they were put out there specifically to catch you doing bad things. It's more that somebody either fat fingered something or intentionally misspelled something, so then that way they don't have to give you their real email address. A lot of times these will even look legit and you won't know that they're misspelled until that bounce comes back. So if you can, try to fix those typos. Look for domains that are misspelled, like Gmail without the I, or it says Gmail, or maybe they spelled Yahoo with only one O. Those you might be able to go through and fix up, but if you don't want to do the work, that's fine, just remove them when they bounce. The next one I want to talk about is one that can hurt you a lot, but there's an easy way that we'll talk about later that you can avoid it. This one's called recycled spam traps. These spam traps are kind of like the ones with typos, except that these emails were valid at one point in time. Over time, they stopped being used by the person who was using them initially, and they found new life by being turned into a spam trap by the email providers. This is a great reason why you should be scrubbing your list, which we'll talk about later. With these spam traps, the typos and the recycled spam traps, you're not likely to get flagged immediately and shut down. These are one of those things that over time, it can damage your reputation, so your emails tend to land in spam more often. In reality, this happens to people who aren't paying attention to their list. And finally, the doozy of all spam traps, the pristine spam trap. This is the worst of all. And if you get caught with one of these on your list, you're done. Immediately blacklisted, and you will not get any emails to the inbox pretty much ever again until you can really prove that you're trying to be better. Most of the time, this is how somebody's domain gets burned and they have to go to a new domain. These email addresses are created by the email providers themselves for the sole intention of catching spammers and scammers. These are never used by organizations and never actually sending email back and forth at all. These types of addresses are embedded onto websites to catch people scraping information off of websites to send cold marketing emails to. Most of the time, people are using this scraping with an app or a tool, which is why it doesn't get picked up. They are specifically designed to catch people who are using less than savory methods to build their list. Now, before we get into what you can do to avoid these things, if you're getting value right now, hit that like button and leave a comment on if you think maybe you've been hit with the spam trap before. I'd love to know if people have gotten through this before, and how many people out there actually do know that these exist and they're doing real things to avoid it. So speaking of avoiding them, what do all these have in common? Well, first of all, they are all 100% preventable. And the big thing is that even though they all have different levels of damaging your reputation, they all have another major thing in common. It shows signs of sender negligence, meaning you're not really doing good things when you're sending emails. If you get hit with the spam trap, that means you are neglecting your list and neglecting using tried and true proven methods to grow your list. Some of the most common ways that these spam traps get on email lists is doing things like purchasing email lists, borrowing email lists, or even black hat strategies like scraping websites or using pixels to capture information. And you might say, well, Josh, Facebook tells me to put my pixel on my website so I can capture their information. Yes, not to send emails, but to retarget them on social media platforms. Using a pixel or a piece of code to scrape people's emails that visit your site is a type of a black hat strategy that will get you in trouble with spam traps. So if you're not regularly doing things to keep your list clean and checking emails that are coming through, you're gonna pay the price. It may not happen right away. You may not see one of these for years even, but one day you keep doing those strategies, there is that chance it's gonna happen. And when it does, it's gonna be detrimental to your business. While these things seem like great, quick and easy ways to grow your list, the truth is it's not worth it. You don't have to do these things to be successful. So here's a couple tips on how you can actually avoid this situation. Number one, use real strategies to build your list. Subscriber forms, newsletter signups, giving away free items like lead magnets, like ebooks or guides or things like that. Collecting emails in those ways are less likely to get you stuck in spam traps because you're not actually getting bad emails. And if you do, it's going to be every once in a while. Most people don't use bad emails in their forms. Next, you can use a service to validate emails to make sure that they're good before you start sending them out. I personally recommend a tool called MailerCheck. I use a marketing tool called MailerLite, and MailerCheck was created by the same company, and it is a pay-as-you-go option, or they do have monthly subscriptions, and you can utilize their tool to automatically scan the list that you have, and then they'll even let you export that list so you can cross-reference that on your list. Or if you're using MailerLite as well, it'll actually allow you to put that as a new segment inside of your list so you can delete those people just by opening up that segment, selecting all of them, and get them out of there. I've used this multiple times. It works swimmingly. There's tons of other tools out there that do the same thing. And MailerCheck is not just for people using MailerLite. It just integrates well with MailerLite. There are other tools out there that you can use it with, and you can use it with any email list you want. And lastly, another way that you can avoid this is using what's called a double opt-in. Now, a double opt-in is where when someone subscribes to your list or you add someone to your list, they're going to get an email to ask them for confirmation before they're actually on your subscriber list. What this does is it prevents you from sending emails to bad email addresses or spam traps, because if they don't confirm the subscription, you can't send them emails. For most marketers, this might actually slow down their growth. So even myself, I don't generally use double opt-in, but for a lot of other businesses, like one of my clients who's a nonprofit, they use it to prevent people from getting on their list from countries that they don't want to do business with. You may be asking yourself, well, do I gotta do all these things? And no, you don't. You can pick one of these things and you will be so far ahead of everybody else out there because you're doing at least something to prevent yourself from getting stuck with these spam traps. So that brings me to the last thing that I wanted to do is I want to walk you through step by step exactly how I helped somebody get out of this situation just recently. This was just within the last month, and already they're reporting that their open rates are starting to return and their reputation using Google Postmaster is starting to return. By the way, if you're ever curious about any of these tools that I mentioned in my videos, check the descriptions down below. You can find information on those tools. So what if you get stuck in a spam trap? What do you do? And that's a really great question. And so one of my clients recently, we went through this, and this is the exact process we used. And they figured that they had at least one or more spam traps that were in their list, and they wanted to know how they could figure it out. Unfortunately, it's really difficult to know exactly which emails are the spam trap. So I took them through a series of events that allowed them to actually get back into a working situation. Now, this is a manual process. There are services out there that do exactly what I did with them manually, and these services are going to cost you a pretty penny. So if you don't want to do all these steps, you can go buy one of those services. I'm not going to recommend one because I don't want to be on the hook for somebody saying, why would you recommend me this service that costs hundreds or thousands of dollars? But I want to at least let you know that you can go out there and search for them. They do exist and they will help you. But if you want to try to do this yourself, here's the process to use. Number one, before you do anything else, is create a plan to remove unengaged subscribers from your list. Yes, there's a lot of discussion back and forth on should you remove them, should you not. For me, I'm telling you, to keep your reputation high, you absolutely do want to remove unengaged subscribers, at least from your active list. You don't have to remove them from the account, but if you want to protect yourself, you can't email them often. To give you an example, most recycled spam traps, like we talked about earlier, they actually start being used around that 3 to 9 month mark of inactivity for that address. So what I recommend to most of my clients is set yourself at least, at the very longest, a 90-day policy to remove unengaged senders from your active lists. I personally use 60 days because I want to be ahead of that curve. Next, start sending a re-permission campaign to some of your leads. This would be a very simple email that says something along the lines of like, hey, I want to just double check that you want to stay on my list. And anybody who doesn't engage, gone. Now, I usually give about a 7-day time frame because some people don't check their emails right away. But you send one email, no links, no pictures, no attachments, no buttons, nothing. Just text about asking them if they want to stay on your list, tell them they can reply, or just opening the email is enough, and then go down and just have your name and then your legal stuff at the bottom that you need to put out there. So generally your CAN spam compliant information. Send that email out and then give it a 7-day time frame to figure out how many people opened your emails. For the people that didn't open, move them away from the active list, and now you have a list of active subscribers. Anybody new who opens, feel free to put them back in there, but for those, focus on those. Next, you want to remove all unknown users who get just a single bounce. I don't care if it's a soft bounce where their mailbox is full or it didn't go through, or if it's a hard bounce, just get them off your list entirely. What you're doing is you're cleaning up your list and making sure that you are going to be sending emails to good emails. You really don't want to risk this at all. Next, you need to check for any triggered emails that you might have. This could be birthdays, anniversaries, sale dates, things like that. Turn them all off. Don't let them go out to anybody. Sometimes those triggered emails may send an email to somebody who's even in an unengaged list because it's looking at a specific field in their contact information, not the fact that they're not on your main list. And lastly, you can look into Microsoft's Smart Network Data Services, or SNDS. They actually provide detailed times for sending email to Microsoft spam traps. You can use this info to potentially identify other spam traps that might be on your list by comparing that to either bounced emails or emails that had some sort of low engagement rate. Then what you can do is look for any unengaged emails that were sent either the day of or the day before that spam trap was noticed to be hit by Microsoft. And now you know you'll be getting rid of most of, if not all, the spam trap or potential spam trap emails that are on your list. Then what you do is you take that active list that you have, that now you've done all this work, you've cleaned everything up, that active list, you start sending them and only them emails. What you're trying to do is you're trying to get back into the inbox of all these people, and you want to focus on sending emails that elicit a reply. You want them to reply back so you can start building that relationship back and forth. What you're doing is you're essentially repairing your reputation by showing that you're doing better. It will take time. Sometimes this takes weeks or even months to fix. However, for my recent client, they got hit, their engagement rate dropped substantially. We cleaned up everything, and then within a few weeks, their engagement rate started to climb back up. I've even had people that I'm working with currently that their engagement rate was down to less than a 1% open rate, and now they're seeing 6 to 10% open rate, and it's still climbing. It will take time. You have to work at it. But again, this is a manual process. So if you want to expedite this, go start searching for services that are looking to clean up your emails and can start repairing your reputation. If you want a quick and easy way to get around this, buy a new domain, warm it up properly, and start sending email from a new domain. But if you want to keep the domain that you have, that's the process that I have used multiple times, and even as recent as the last month, to help people repair their reputation. So the next time that you think that that unengaged subscriber on your list could potentially be a sale in the future, you might be wrong. It might be a spam trap.